Hey, welcome back, guys. Today I'm going to be doing COMM 225, Chapter 2, Competitiveness, Strategy, and Productivity. So let's look at the legend. So as everything highlighted in yellow already. So as you can see, number one, competitiveness. That's our chapter title. Underneath in blue is our heading of that chapter. In green is the subheading. So yeah, that's our legend. So let's look at the main points for chapter 2. So number one, list and discuss the primary ways that organizations compete. Two, describe mission slash vision, goals, strategies, and tactics, operation strategy, and its formulation. Three, define and measure productivity, explain several factors that affect productivity, and describe why it is important to manufacturing and to service organizations. All right, so let's take a look at the notes now. So, competitiveness, strategy, and productivity. This chapter describes competitiveness, strategy, and planning, and productivity, three related topics that are vitally important to organizations. Competitiveness, it is the ability and performance of an organization in the market compared to other organizations. So, performance compared to other organizations. Strategy is a long-term plans that determine the direction of an organization will take to become competitive. So the plans an organization will take to become competitive. Strategic planning, it's the managerial process that determines a strategy for the organization and implements it through allocation of resources and actions. So number one, competitiveness. A company must be competitive relative to others to profitably sell its goods and services. Competitiveness is the reason a company prospers, gets by, or fails. A company's competitiveness means how effectively an organization meets the wants and needs of customers relative to other companies. An organization's performance in the market depends on the expectations of its customer for the purchase of goods or services. The key purchasing criteria, it's the main buying factor that customers use, which are price, quality, variety, and timeliness. So I'll highlight in orange key purchasing criteria. So we have our factors here, which is price. This is the amount a customer must pay for the good or service. If all factors are equal, customers will choose the good or service that has the lowest price. Quality, the characteristic of a good or service that are determined by its design, material, workmanship, performance, consistency, etc. Here, we will also include customer service. Let's say an example is easy and fast returns, warranty repairs, responses to requests, and innovation in products. So, Apple and their iPhone. So, variety, the choice of models and options available to customers. The more variety, the wider the range of potential customers. On time delivery or timeliness, it's the availability of goods or services when they are needed to by the customer. This means orders being delivered on time, as in time purchasing, or quickly. We will also include convenience of location here. So, an example of time delivery or timeliness would be Amazon's Prime deals, where they deliver the product in, let's say, a day, usually. So value equals quality, timeliness, etc. divided by price. Order qualifiers is the competitive standard characteristics of a product or service that cause it to be viewed of for purchase by a consumer. Order winners, it's the characteristics that distinguish the product or service from others to be more competitive and better for a customer and win the customer's purchase. Two, mission and strategies. An organization mission is the reason for its existence. Mission statement, this states the purpose of an organization. So the purpose of an organization. Vision is where the organization desires to be in the future. So organization's desires in the future. The goal is to provide detail and scope of the mission. So scope of the mission. Organizational strategy is important because it guides the organization by providing direction for and alignment of the goals and strategies. Strategies provide focus for decision making. A strategy is determined during the strategic planning process, which is low cost, responsiveness, and differentiation from competitors. Strategies and tactics. Tactics, the method and actions used to accomplish strategies. They are more specific than strategies and they provide guidance and direction for carrying out operations. Tactics are the how to part of the process. Example of this is Lily is a high school student. She would like to live comfortably. Her mission is to live a good life. Her goal is to have a successful career and good income. Her strategy is to obtain a college degree or university. Tactics, it's to select a good university or college and a major. Decide how to finance that education. The operations, to register, buy books, take courses, and study for that university or college. So we could see here right underneath in this pyramid is our vision. Again, it gets brought down to goals. Then the goals get brought down to organizational strategy. Then to functional strategies, which include finance, marketing, operations, tactics. So functional strategies is the finance, marketing, operations. And then those three get brought down to the tactics. So each one has their own tactics. Let's say an example for finance, it has the policies and action plans as its tactics. Marketing tactics include policies and action plans. And operations tactics include their own policies and action plans. So each three finance, marketing, operations has their own specific tactics. So here are some examples of different strategies an organization might choose from. They have one, low cost, outsource operations to third world countries that have low labor costs. Two, scale-based strategies, capital-intensive methods to achieve high output volume and low unit costs. Three, specialization, it's focus on narrow product lines or limited series to achieve higher quality. Newness, focus on innovation to create new products or services. 5. Flexible operations, focus on quick response and customization. 6. High quality, focus on achieving higher quality than competitors. 7. Service, focus on the various aspects of a service. 8. Sustainability, focus on environmentally friendly and energy efficient operations. Many organizations are beginning to recognize the strategic advantages of sustainability through promotional benefits by publicizing their sustainability efforts and achievements. Organizations' assessments of its own strengths and weaknesses in order to take advantage of its core competencies. Core competencies, this means the special attributes possessed by an organization that gives it a competitive edge. So operation strategy. Operation strategy is a set of well-coordinated policies, objectives, and action plans directly affecting the operations function, which is aimed at securing a long-term sustainable advantage over the competition. To formulate an operation strategy, operations function has to cooperate with all of the other functions of the business to collectively monitor the external markets. An example of this is competitors. Marketing should be aware of competitors' new products, development, and customer expectations in the product markets. Engineering should be aware of new processing technologies in the technology markets. So 9 strategic decision categories. 1. Facility. It's the number and location of facilities influence the operations and market strengths of the organization. In addition, for a manufacturer, a major decision is how to specialize or focus each facility, either product focus or process focus. This decision depends on the economies and ease of production. 2. You have capacity. This is related to the facility decision. It's the long-term decisions related to size of plants and major equipment. The main issue is how to change the capacity in anticipation of future demand. Capacity shortage affects opportunity costs. 3. Vertical integration / outsourcing. Vertical integration is the ownership of a major part or the whole of a supply chain. Outsourcing is letting a supplier perform some of the production / service function. 4. Supplier relationship. This determines how the quality of purchased goods will be assured. Either work with a supplier to supervise slash control its production processes or inspect the incoming parts. The purchasing agent's knowledge and effective performance are important for operation strengths. 5. Product mix and new products. Challenge of operations management increases as the variety of products and the rate of new product introduction increases. 6. Production process type and technology. You have 4 generic production process types. You have job shop, batch flow, assembly line, and continuous flow. 7. Human resources. You have workers slash staff are appraised, selected, developed, trained, motivated, promoted, and rewarded to work as a team to achieve the organization's goal. 8. Quality. Product quality is determined during the design and production stages. Specifications during the production requires quality planning, control, and improvement. 9. Operations infrastructure and systems. These decisions include planning and control, forecasting, material requirements, planning and scheduling, software program for planning and control. So those are our 9 strategic decision categories. So generic operation strategy is the theme-based operation improved programs and plans. It is popular generic operation strategies include low labor cost strategy, scale-based strategy, focus factory strategy, flexible factory strategy, and continuous improvement strategy. So let's go on to our third, productivity. Productivity measures output, which is goods or services, per unit input, such as machine, labor, materials, or energy used to produce it. Productivity equals output slash input. Measuring productivity is partial. So partial productivity is output divided by labor, or output divided by machine, output divided by material, or output divided by energy. Multi-factor. Output divided by labor plus machine, or another example is output divided by labor plus material plus energy. So you have many factors on the bottom of the division that include what I just said. So total, so this is all the goods or services that was produced divided by all the inputs used to produce them. So labor productivity, it's the units of output per labor hour, units of output per shift, value added per labor hour, dollar value of output per labor hour. Those are just examples of labor productivity. Machine productivity could be units of output per machine hour. Material productivity, it's the units of output per unit material input. For example, kilometers per liter or liters per 100 kilometers. So energy productivity is the units of output per kilowatt or dollar value of output per kilowatt. So here, just square meters of carpet installed divided by the labor hours equals the square meters of carpet installed per labor hours. Number of offices cleaned divided by the number of shifts equals to the number of offices cleaned per shift. So here we have an example that I wrote down. So one, we have 4 workers installed 720 square meters of carpet in 8 hours. Determine their productivity. So one, let's look at the formula we might use. We have square meters of carpet divided by labor hours, something we see right here. So we're using this formula. So 2, let's plug in our known. So we know that the square meter of carpet is 720, and we know our labor hours is 8. So we have 90 square meters per hour is our productivity. So question number 2, a machine produced 68 usable pieces in 2 hours. Determine the productivity. So formula, let's look at, we have the formula of number of pieces produced divided by hours worked. This is our productivity, so let's plug in our knowns. So we know that there's 68 pieces produced divided by the 2 hours worked, which gives us 34 pieces per hour. Number 3, determine the multi-factor productivity for labor materials using the data. So output is 7,040 units input is labor, which equals to 1,000, materials which equals to 520, and machine overhead, which equals to 2,000. So formula, this is our multi-factor productivity. So we have output divided by many factors, which include labor, material, and machine overhead. So write our knowns. Let's just plug in our knowns. So we know that our output was 7,040. We know that our labor was 1,000. We know that our materials costed us 520. And we know that our machine overhead was 2,000. So this includes, this is everything. So when you add everything up and use the division, it becomes 2 units per dollar output, or input. So total productivity and profit of a company are directly related. Profit equals to revenue minus total cost. So total productivity equals to revenue divided by total cost. The rate of productivity growth increases in productivity from the previous period to the current period relative to the productivity in the previous period. Productivity equals the current period productivity minus previous period productivity. So this divided by previous period productivity. So example, if productivity increased from 80 to 84, what's the growth rate? Formula is the one we just use on top here. So I'll just point an arrow. And that gives us, once we plug in our knowns, 84 minus 80 equals to 0.05 or 5% of growth rate. Productivity measurement or services. Service productivity measurement is more problematic than manufacturing. Services where there is also a large goods component, a measure of output is not hard to find. An example of this is industries. In the transportation industry, ton per miles is used. Power industry, kilowatt per hour is used. In communication industry is the number of phone calls used. Factors that affect productivity. Generally, there are methods and management, equipment, technology, and labor. A commonly held misconception is that workers are the main determinant of productivity. However, the fact is that productivity gains come from equipment and technological improvements. So an example of equipment and technological improvements is machine automation, text processing, spreadsheets, barcodes, and scanners. So productivity examples. 1, we have a company that processes fruits and vegetables is able to produce 400 cases in 1/2 hour with 4 workers. What is its labor productivity? So step 1, let's write our knowns. So what do we know? We know that we produced 400 cases. We know that the time was 1/2 hours. And we know that 4 workers were used. So productivity, let's write down our formula. Step 2, productivity equals the cases produced divided by the hours. So let's plug in our knowns. So we know that 400 cases were produced. We know that we had 4 hours and then times 1/2 hours because we know we have 4 workers working half an hour. So that gives us 200 cases per worker hour. A wrapping company produced 2,000 rolls in 1 day. Labor cost equals 160. Material is $50 and overhead was 320. Determine the multi-factor productivity. So let's step 1, let's write down our knowns. We have our labor which is 160, material which is $50, overhead which is 320, and rolls which is 2,000. Number 2 is our formula. So productivity equals the what was produced divided by our multi-factor productivity. So labor plus material plus overhead. So let's plug in our knowns. We know that there was 2,000 rolls in 1 day. We know that the $160 was used for the labor, $50 for material, and $320 for the overhead. So this comes out to 3.77 rolls per dollar input. So number 3, compute the multi-factor productivity measure for height per hour day. Output was 300 units. There's 3 workers used. 600 pounds of material. So worker's wage was $20. Material was $1 per pound, and overhead was 1.5 times the labor cost. So output was $300. Workers, since we have 3 workers times 20, that equals to $60. 60 times 8 because of the 8 hours. Measure product. Oh, so this should be an 8-hour day, I believe. Not height hour, it should be 8. There you go. So these are all our knowns. Materials, since we had 600 pounds times, and it was $1 per pound, we have $600. And overhead, since it's 1.5 times our labor costs, it's 480 times 1.5, which equals to 720. So 2, we have our formula. We have output divided by labor plus material plus overhead. 3, we plug in our knowns. So 300 divided by 480 plus 600 plus 720. That is equal to 0.166 units per dollar unit. That's it. Thank you.